Well, our business model is based on partnership. Some of the assets that we structure, we own them ourselves. Some of them we partner with others, and we are open to the opportunity that comes. We are basically, we look at ourselves as an investment company. We own asset, we structure asset, we partner with others, and we move on. Sometimes while you're developing the asset itself, there is appetite from a foreign investor who can come and partner with you. And sometimes that doesn't happen, where you are you're carrying forward with that asset till a closure of that asset. You liquidate it at a certain point of time. It depends on, again, how the market moves and your appetite towards other development and the liquidity requirement of the company. But that is there. All is open, depends on how you see the market growing in front of you.
Yes. Can I just ask, do we have any questions in the audience? Is there any question that anybody would particularly like to ask? Or if they do, please make themselves known to Sherwin and we'll make sure that we include you in the discussion. Feel free to participate, because that's what panel discussion is supposed to do, is generate some feedback from the audience on points that are of interest to people particularly. I was interested also, when talking about the strategy for the future, is should Oman be, what is Oman's point of difference? To some of us it's pretty obvious, but how would you see? Perhaps we go to Hassan on this one. And what do you see as being the point of difference that Oman can offer to move forward with its real estate development?
See, I will look at this into two directions. We have an internal demand, which I think distinguishes us from several neighborhood countries. That we have a young population, which requires housing. I think you have mentioned in your opening paper today that we should not only focus on ITCs and a high end. You need to have also budgeted housing where you can, target young people, Omanis who would like to set up families. So I think this is an internal demand, and this demand not only impacts the housing sector, but will also affect all the other sectors. And today, as Ian said in his presentation, we are foreseeing 300,000 square meters of retail space coming for the couple 2 to 3 years.
Doubling, yeah.
And guess what? Today, if you go to the malls in Oman, you don't see many tourists. Who you see is the local people Omanis who are Omanis, or the people who are residents due to their work as a professionals. So this strong demand, I think it's a very important driving, distinguished thing for Oman. On the other hand, if you look at it from the tourism perspective, we all know that we have God gifted us a beautiful landscaping, well-diversified landscaping from mountain, from coast, from everything. So that's, I think, a unique selling proposition for any country who has such a gifted nature. And of course, we know about the culture of Omanis. They always are very, very friendly people, etc. So I think we have all the 4 Ps of marketing. We have the product, we have the market is not pricely, we have the right place, and I think we need the right promotion now. We need the right positioning. We need the right marketing. So we need to complete the fourth P. And if you look at the McKinsey's 5 matrices, we also have most of that as well.
And Ian, as a property professional but expatriate living in Oman, what would you add to that?
Well, I think things are changing positively all the time in Muscat and wider Oman. It's becoming more interesting at a time after the last 5 or 6 years of tough trading environment. The atmosphere is more positive than I've ever felt since I've been here. But I also think on the back of that, the real estate sector lends itself very, very well to the vision of diversification in Oman. And it's the urban fabric of the capital area that is going to accommodate and launch various sectors of diversification. What I mean by that is the youthful population coming into the workplace really are looking now for modern environments to work in, well networked, very much fitted out with the facilities that are more cutting edge and akin to business operations that one can commit to and learn with through the work process. And I'm really pleased to see that various schemes are now being thought out for the next 20 or 30 years in Muscat, with business parks, inviting international investors to come in with those projects, as well as very good local investors and developers, to look at creating real formats for the business environment to benefit the youthful population coming into their careers and into the workplace. You know, the working hours are changing. We're more global, we're more international these days. And sitting in a business park in Seeb or at the airport to development means that you're dealing with different time zones in different parts of the world. And the traditional trading hours are very much changing. So you need ancillary facilities in the business parks to support people dwelling around their workplace longer. That's health. That's convenience retail. It's almost housing as well, and apartments in some cases. So it's really very positive to see a change in mindset and approach to the developments and how we are looking at the medium and long term to upgrade the fabric of the capital city, which is very much needed, but therein lies a great opportunity right now.
Yeah, interesting. Did anybody want to, please do. Sherwin? Can we please have a microphone?
Questions from the audience?
Sorry, my name is Bural. You guys talked a lot about the trying to cater to a certain part of the market, which was basically the, let's say, the budgeted part of the market. But you guys are not talking a lot about the amenities and the facilities that the market lacks at the moment when it comes to the housing industry. So I'd really like if we can shed the light on that a bit.
Sorry, what was the question? What's happening to amenities within housing? Well, I think there is a demand, a growing demand from the market to upgrade the facilities available, especially within the large complexes. And it's a strange chronology here, because if you look at what was built in the 70s with, say, Medina Sultan Qaboos, these were, picketed fences, single-story houses, and then the complexes next to them used to have pools, and there was a kind of a community developed back in the 70s, which I think is still one of the more pioneering products that has been developed here. Come the 80s, I think everyone started just designing single towers by our standards, in terms of height or single developments. There was a burst of creativity with Shat al-Qurum, where again the roads were designed properly, the overhead lines were actually buried, and so on. And unfortunately, with the growth of the population, again, the government just had to release lots of plots all over the place, and you have this jagged tooth development all over the country. I think what's happening now is because of what we mentioned earlier, the buyers are becoming more sophisticated, the users are becoming more sophisticated. What my son will accept is not what I accepted when I first got married, 20-something years ago. He wants a gym, he wants a nursery or creche for his kids, he wants security at the door, and so on and so forth. So I think the market is pushing it, and that's where the more savvy developers are heading now. If I look at, say, business parks, based on, just building on what Ian was saying earlier, we're developing the Omantel headquarters at the Oman Convention and Exhibition Center. And the discussions we're having with them is they want one of the best buildings in the world. I mean, no one's saying, well, we're happy in our building, just make it a bit nicer. Be it, the gym, be it an auditorium, the engagement process with staff, the facilities for the ladies, and the new labor law actually will force companies. I think if you have more than 40 females in your organization, you actually have to have a nursery. So certain things are being driven by legislation, certain things are being developed by owners who really know what they want, and they're pushing for it, and they're willing to pay for it. And part of it is in the market. But let's not forget, I mean, we still have a large diversity in buying power in the country. So you still have a lot of bachelors who commute here for the weekdays and go back, and they have to maintain 2 homes, and they can't all afford to pay 800 riyals in rent. So there'll always be different market segments that can only afford certain amounts, and obviously the ITCs, which is at the moment at the very top end of the market. But I think the middle market is moving more upwards rather than being pulled downwards.
And there's a gentleman in the front row.
Hassan Ali. How do you see the current labor regulations and Oman's policy to reduce non-Omanis from 42% to 33% over some time, coming time?
I'm sorry, I can't hear that. You asked the question, what does...
How the Omani labor regulations,
Yep.
as well as the government decision to reduce the foreigner population from 42% currently to 33%, and that is about 360 to 400,000 expats.
Okay.
If you reduce it from 42 to 33%, how is it going to affect the real estate market,
Yeah.
especially for ICTs, and what Wael says that the government is giving plots everywhere to locals? So who is going to invest and who is going to occupy ICTs and new developments?
Would you like to answer that one, Suleiman?
I would say the market at large at the moment is hardly driven by the government investment. And more investment we see from the government toward public services and infrastructure, that it will increase the opportunity for private investor to continue pumping money into this sector. Changing regulation definitely it has impact in demand and supply equation. And reducing the foreign manpower to come to flow into the country, it will have impact. What is that impact? You can't assess it now unless you have the total built-up area available in front of you in terms of resident and the segmentation of the resident demanded by foreign manpower compared to the flow of the manpower that is coming. But basically, if the government will continue to invest in the infrastructure, it will balance somewhere, right? Having said all the beautiful picture that we are talking about in terms of the opportunities, a lot of points has been raised in this conference regarding the back house work that need to be done by the government as we invest in this sector. And we have been in this market for a long time. We confront a lot of challenges in terms of, in the same sector, regulation, legislation, execution of the laws, valuation of assets, bank finance, how they look into the asset, the type of asset they would like to favor in terms of financing. Also, the financing tools are a little bit behind than other market that we are in our neighbor, if you see. We have only recently Islamic finance has been introduced. Earlier, we have one product of financing real estate. But if you look, into the stock market, there is no single real estate till date are floated in Muscat security market. That gives you an indication of how the sector operates. So a lot of back house need to be done, and this cannot be done by a private sector alone. Government has to play a big role to support this industry. And without the support of the government and with the support of the other player, name it financing institution, construction company, the consultants, laws and regulation is also behind.
But we do have a certain benefit insofar as it's a new business. So we're starting with a pretty clean slate, so we can get it right because we can learn from the experience from others in the region. And we've got youngsters coming out of university who can go straight in to be trained to be able to do it properly. So actually, you've got a win-win situation that within the next decade, you can have it perfectly written and being run by local people who've learnt it perfectly from the beginning. So the advantage of actually starting starting ahead or letting the horse out of the gate before, whatever the expression is, at least now it's possible to get it all right. And 10 years flies by, as we all know. So we've got youngsters coming out who need to be educated, they need jobs, so let's train them. It's a win-win. That's why I'm very interested in the gentleman who was talking before, and the regulation and the valuation and the...
Yes, but if you look at the growth of the sector, is growing at faster, momentum than the growth of regulations.
Yes, and I know exactly
All of this
what
is
that
falling
means.
behind, and
Yeah.
it's holding back the growth of the sector, and
You're
it's
absolutely
affecting
right.
us.
Yep.
But it's also as opportunity for us.
It is. It's a huge
For people
opportunity.
who are in the market, who knows how to play it very well, it's an opportunity.
It's a huge opportunity.
But it is not a market, very sophisticated market, not yet. Still, we have to work hard for, I think, another 10 years to make it look as a nice market. And it's very transparent, very clear for
Yes.
foreign investor.
Yes. Now, Hassan, you employ quite a few people through your entire group of companies. How many and how easily do you find it to be to recruit youngsters who wish to learn the trade and the discipline of your real estate businesses with the different verticals?
It is challenging because when you talk about real estate, I think the biggest challenge that we face with the young Oman is that we don't have specialized people in the real estate. I think the market there is a certain degree, there's a confusion between construction and real estate.
Yes.
They are two different professions. A civil engineer actually he cannot become a real estate broker, or he might become a real estate surveyor, might become a valuer, but when it comes to marketing, etc., I might not, because there you need the other side of your mind, different type of skills. So we do see, especially whenever there is a boom in the market, you see a lot of people would like to come and work in the real estate because they can make quick deals and they can make good money from the commission, which is a fair deal for everyone. But unfortunately, they lack the skills which makes them be good real estate brokers or marketing people for real estate. So I think training and the absence of a real estate training institution, that's the biggest challenge that we are facing.
Do each of your organisations have internship opportunities?
Sorry?
Do you have internship? Do you take students in for a year or a set period of time, so at least they can have hands-on training? Ian?
We started, I think it was about 3 years ago, we did a commission from Sultan Qaboos University to take on a number of the engineering and surveying students on work experience into Cluttons. And on the back of that, we've had I think we've had about 12 students consistently joining us through the year.
For what length of time?
Of which 4 of them have joined us permanently.
Oh, excellent.
And with that, it's quite interesting to see how through the different departments they can learn about the process of real estate, from initially managing a building and what rental income is and managing good accounts, through to then going into the valuation department of understanding why good management creates value, and then moving on to the acquisition and disposal side of the business, where one can realize that an asset is undervalued or overvalued, or indeed what is required to make an asset better, both in the development process but also in the existing market. I'm seeing more students come through with